Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ella and today we've got a lot going on, okay? We're gonna just do some housekeeping because it's been a while since I talked to you and I've done quite a lot of book stuff, but I just haven't been filming it. So first, we are gonna do a little tiny book unhaul. Then we're gonna go to the book thrift store and pick up some new books. I will show you what I got, and then we're going to talk about what I read in October. I know it is the end of November, but I do want to talk about what I read in October, and some of these I read in November, and then I will tell you about what I'm reading currently. So I know that's a lot, but it's going to be so much fun, and I am excited to talk about these books that I read because I read some good ones and some bad ones, so I have a lot of things to say. But let's start with our book unhaul first. So I've got A Silent Treatment, which is an ARC nonfiction memoir. I'm never going to read this. I don't know if they take ARCs, but I'm going to take this because I don't need it in my space anyway. Then I've got 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall. I've had this for a while. I'm never going to read this. I need space on my shelves. Next is Kite Runner. I have a second copy of this that is less damaged. It's not really damaged, it just has some use on it, but I have another much nicer copy, so I'm gonna donate this one. And then The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, which I talked about in my recent reading vlog of September. I didn't love it, and I don't really see a reason to keep it because I didn't love it, and I feel like someone else would like it more, so I am gonna donate this one as well. And that is it for the books. So that was so much fun. I only got 2 books. I got some movies as well, but I'm not gonna show those because it was just iRobot, The Legends of the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, found that on DVD, which I loved as a kid. The Frankenstein from the 90s, just random assortment of old movies. But I only got 2 books, and that was Wicked by Gregory Maguire, which is what the movie / musical is based off of, is his books, which are based off of The Wizard of Oz. But this is so cute. I was so pleased to find this there because look at how pretty this is. It does have illustrations throughout, so we've got that one, and then we got Son of a Witch, same guy. It's the second book. It's like a 4-book series, and it's the same thing. You open it, look at that, and it's got illustrations throughout. So I'm very excited to start this series. I hope I can find the rest from this publishing house that made them like this, but I am not planning on reading these till next year because I do just want to watch the movies and experience that, and then at some point read them because I did really like the movie. But these are what I got at the thrift store. Now let's talk about what I read in October. So I've got my little stack here of what I read plus an audiobook, but let's start with Frankenstein from Miss Mary Shelley. I did finally read this and finish it. I gave it a 3.75. It's a great book. I really liked it. The thing about it is that the first 50% of the book is much slower than I thought it was going to be. It took more than 50% of the book before we got to see the creature again after it's been created, and it doesn't really go into detail about how it's created. In every film iteration, there's electricity and lightning, and it's sort of subtly mentioned that that may have been what ultimately created the creature, but in the book it's 1 paragraph and it's Victor figured it out and created the monster, and now it's here, and then 2 years time skip before we see the monster again, or the creature, whatever you want to call it. But by the 50% mark, when we actually are seeing the creature's POV and things are happening, it gets much better. And all of the philosophical quotable moments are in the second half of the book. Much of them come from the creature. It's all really good. I loved that part, and I would probably reread it again just because I really liked it. I will say, so I've seen the original movie, the black and white one, which is nothing like the book because apparently none of the film adaptations are like the book. And then I watched the new Del Toro movie on Netflix. It was just okay for me, dog. I don't think it was very accurate to the book at all. I did not like what they did with Elizabeth's character. I don't like the changes that they made to Victor's past. In the book, he does not have an abusive relationship. He has actually a quite loving family. And I think that is better because it shows that his hubris and ego and creation is not like a result of some bad childhood, which I don't like that because I feel like in the movie they try to sort of pin it or blame it on him having a bad relationship with his dad and his dad's abusive, which doesn't exist in the book. And I didn't like what they did with Elizabeth, and the ending of the movie is not like the ending of the book. It was beautiful, nice to look at, pretty movie, but that's about it. The book is better for sure, and I would read it again with a better edition so I could annotate it. But anyway, 3.75, quite liked it. Next, I read Tombs by Junji Ito, which is a collection of his short stories. He has a lot of these. They're just called like story collections, which they usually have about 6 stories in them. Let me see. And the title one, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one actually has 9. That's nice. The title story, Tombs, I'd already read before in a different bind-up. I think about half of the stories I'd already read before. At least 3 or 4 of them I'd read before in different things. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. Junji Ito is the best if you're looking for really awesome horror manga art. Dude, he is the goat of all goats. I gave this like 4 stars. It's only not a 5-star because I'd already read like half the stories in other bind-ups, but his stories can be kind of silly and nonsensical sometimes. It's more about the art to me, and I love Junji Ito. That's all there's to say. One day maybe I'll do a whole Junji Ito video ranking all of his stuff. I don't have everything yet, but I have quite a big collection of his stuff and I love it all. So Tombs was very good. Next, I read The Haunting by Natasha Preston. I mentioned this in my October TBR. I've had this for a year or 2. It was a gift from my mom, which was very sweet, and I love my mommy. We both like horror stuff, and this is like a horror thriller mystery. I really didn't like this book. I gave it 1 star. It's a YA thriller mystery. It says The Haunting and sort of implies throughout the book that there is something paranormal happening, but there's not at all anything paranormal happening in this book at any point. It has some of the worst writing I've ever read in a book, which is why it's 1 star. It's not the worst I've ever seen. I've talked about one of the worst books I've ever read. It's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. Just like, I feel like there was not an editor in the room at any stage when this book was developed. The writing is pretty atrocious. I feel like maybe it's for like a 3rd grade reading level. It's very, very, very dumbed down. And just not well written. Like, the plot didn't make much sense. The characters were all very unlikable, very teeny bopper, which is fair because it is a YA book and I am not YA. But I really didn't like it, and I really didn't like the ending. It ends in an insane, bizarre way. It definitely is trying very hard to pull from Scream, the Scream franchise, where it's a mystery who the killer is. There's this killer happening around the town that's killing these teenagers, and we think it's the son or daughter of this guy who the year before had murdered some teenagers. So it is trying very hard to be like Scream in a lot of ways, but it completely misses the mark. It even references Scream 2 or 3 times, like in the world of this book. It's just not good. Bad writing. This is like a prime example of an author who tells you rather than shows you things. I don't know if I would ever read another book by this author, and I would not recommend this book. Maybe if you were like 12 years old, you would like it, just because I feel like it is more for that age range anyway. But yeah, it wasn't my thing. I didn't like the mystery of it all, and the ending especially is pretty atrocious. Immediately after that, I read An Enchanting Case of Spirits by Melissa Holtz. I actually finished this in November. This is a paranormal romance. It follows this main character, Alyssa, whose husband passed away in a car accident like 2 or 3 years prior to the start of the book, and she goes to a like seance for her 40th birthday and basically activates some latent psychic powers within herself so that she can see ghosts now. So she is having a hard time with this, and she wants to get rid of these ghosts and deal with this problem. But obviously people think she's crazy. No one else can see these ghosts, and she has to like get them to move on. So she has to uncover how and why they died. And it is like foul play essentially is involved in a lot of the cases of these ghosts. So she has this handsome detective neighbor named Nick who sort of like comes to her rescue early on in the book, and they sort of have a budding relationship throughout the book. Obviously he's the romantic interest. It's very closed door. I don't think they ever like do it or anything. Like there's no spice really at all in this book. Maybe some like kissing. They almost do something, but then they don't, like in the epilogue maybe. So if you're looking for something spicy, that's not gonna be this. It was okay. I gave it like a 3-star. I didn't think the writing was especially good in this one either. It was okay. It was definitely much better than The Haunting, but it was still kind of cringe at certain parts and very tell rather than show a lot of the time. But it was a lot better than The Haunting, don't get me wrong. It was still fun and cozy for a lot of the book. I just don't know if I would keep this book, and I don't know if I would read the second one, because apparently it is going to be one of those like series that you don't technically have to read all of them, but they are technically a series. They just follow different characters. I don't know if I'm going to read the second one, but it's cute. I love the cover. It's really pretty. I got it in Savannah, so I feel like that's going to make me want to keep it, even though I don't really like it, just because I've attached that memory to it. But if you are looking for paranormal romance, start with the X-Hex and read that series first, and then maybe you would like this one. I almost forgot, the last thing that I read in October, November is You Love Me, which is the 3rd book in the You series by Caroline Kepnes. I almost forgot because I listened to it on Libby, and I had actually started listening to this back in like August or September, but then I didn't finish it, and I had to get back in line to get the audiobook again, and that took forever. But I finally got back in line and I finally finished it. That one was probably like a 3-star as well. Those books definitely drop off after the first one. If you are interested in reading the You series, which is like that hit Netflix show called You, where it's about a guy who is a stalker and sort of stalks his way into relationships with women, and it usually ends quite badly, and he usually hurts a lot of people. The first book is pretty good, and I would recommend that one, and the show is pretty faithful to it in a lot of ways, but definitely it drops off after the first book. It's kind of very repetitive. You get the point after the first book. The 3rd book, I will say, You Love Me, I feel like it was better than the second one. It was definitely different. I don't want to spoil it because it is the 3rd book in a series, but I might continue that series. Just like, it's one of those types of series where it's not your favorite thing in the world, but you're kind of interested, like, okay, where is this gonna go? Because I really like the show. The show is definitely better than the books. So if you like the show, you might want to read the books. But yeah, I did listen to that. Okay, now that was everything that I've read up to now. Currently what I'm reading is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. I'm pretty sure I showed you guys when I hauled this like a month or 2 ago. I'm using this metal bookmark, which I really like, but I feel like it's scratching up the book. I want to use metal bookmarks, but it is sort of damaging the book a little. I don't know if this is just a very sensitive book. Anyway, I'm a little over halfway. I'm like page 220 out of like 420, so maybe technically halfway. Got 200 pages left. It's really good so far. I talked about Babel. You might remember that. People like to say if you like Babel, then you would like this, and they compare the 2 books a lot. I'm pretty sure it even says somewhere on here, it does reference Babel. Yeah, for fans of R.F. Kuang's Babel, will find much to admire here. Because both books are standalone fantasies that deal with injustice, I will say Babel takes more of a historical fantasy approach, and this book I know it's glossy. It takes more of a like hard fantasy approach, but the ideas are kind of the same. I want to tell you about it without spoiling it. I'm only halfway through, and the twist part that I just got to was so incredible. So I want to tell you about it without accidentally revealing anything. So essentially we're following this main character, Siona, who is a female mage. She is testing to join the high magistry and become a high mage and do like high level magic, and there's never been a woman high mage. This is a very sexist society, like super duper sexist. You will read and experience a lot of the like horrible sexist things that are said to her face because she is a woman, and she succeeds. That happens at the beginning of the book. It's not a spoiler. I'm pretty sure it's in the summary. She becomes a high mage. She's the first woman to ever become a high mage, and she gets assigned a janitor as her mage assistant, which is supposed to be an insult to her because the janitors are Quinn, which is a different like race of people, and they consider them to be like a subhuman race of people. But it's actually sort of a blessing in disguise because obviously we, the reader, know that no such thing as subhuman. He is equally as smart and capable as her. Maybe not as smart, but definitely as capable of intelligence. And there's a lot of mystery and what is going on in this world. And the magic system is sort of based off this typewriter that they use called spellograph and energy. And it's sort of like magical Excel in some ways, but cooler, trust me. It gets really, really good. It's about injustice of sexes and races and classes, and I'm really liking it so far. So I will hopefully update you about this in the next wrap-up video sometime in December, but we've got like half a book left to go. So that's gonna be everything we talk about today. The next video you should see from me should probably be like my December reading plans, December TBR. I've read 36 out of the 50 books that I wanted to read so far this year. So I've got to read 14 books in 38 days. We don't know if that's going to happen. I'm going to try my hardest to achieve that. But we will talk more about end of year goals in my next video. So until then, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!